Hi friends, it's Christina, the TNT Homestead, and today I passed my principal broker exam, so I'm really excited. I was stressing quite a bit on it, but it went really well. Actually, pretty easy, so glad to have that out of the way, and now I can focus on some of the other things that I need to get off of my list before we get into our growing season. So a couple years ago we went blueberry picking over in Siletz, and I still probably have quite a few pounds of blueberries left, and I don't want them to get freezer burnt. It looks like one bag may be close to getting freezer burnt, so I'm going to make some blueberry jam. And I've got overflow of ripe bananas. There's Kale sneaking a snack. That I'm gonna make some banana bread. I've got the bread machine out that my mother-in-law gave me a couple years ago when we kind of started this venture. So I'm gonna get some banana bread going because I've got an excess amount of walnuts too. I think I showed you those in one of my last videos. So working on blueberry jam, some banana bread, and probably do some blueberry muffins too because those are one of my favorites. So good. So I'm gonna be using the blue book for my recipe for berry jam. It's calling for 9 cups of crushed berries. I'm not going to crush them, I'm just going to cook them down and then smash them because they're already frozen. So, oh man, I might have to make 2 batches because this bag's not even used. I still have this. Maybe I'll use the rest for that. We'll throw in an extra cup. Okay, so we'll turn this on to cook down. The next ingredient is 6 cups of sugar and blueberries do not require pectin because they have natural pectin. Oh. 3, 4. I just need to wait for these to cook down. I'm going to use my bread machine to make banana nut bread. And this is the recipe book that came with it, so I'm going to just do this recipe, but instead of macadamias, we're going to use walnuts. Alright, so the recipe calls for 3/4 cup ripe bananas, but I like to just put 7.
Yeah.
Because, one, I keep them frozen so they liquefy quite a bit. So I just pull these out of the freezer and peeling them. I have learned now to actually peel them before I put them in the freezer, because then it saves me having to do this later and makes it quite a bit easier. So I do have some that are already peeled in the freezer. I need to go ahead and get these used up first. Alright, they're starting to warm up. We need to smush them, smush them, smush them. But they're still a little frozen, so they're just starting to warm up. We'll come back to those.
So, Mom just dropped a banana.
No, it's the butter.
Oh, the butter.
Butter in there.
In the raspberry. This dropped whatever they're called. Blueberries. Doesn't put the butter in the blueberries again. Right, Mom?
Right. Alright, I got all my ingredients together. And we're doing 2/3 cup water. It says to do the liquid first. This is important because you put the dry ingredients on top and you make sure you put your yeast in last so that it doesn't mix with the fluid right away. And oh, my bananas are not mashed yet. Oh, my butter is not softened anymore either. See, we've got 2 tablespoons softened butter.
Oh. 2 tablespoons of butter.
Butter.
What else is this?
I need to mash my bananas. Hold on.
Okay. Wait.
They're still frozen.
Where are the bananas? Oh, they're right there.
Right here.
I'm looking right at them.
And they're still frozen, so I might need to wait. Alright, we got our bananas mashed. I'm gonna go put these in. I had to thaw them out because they were still frozen. That looks good. Alright, let's put these in. Hopefully my machine's big enough for this recipe. Okay. 1 egg. We'll grab that right here from the egg fast. And 3 cups, 3 1/4 cups flour. Yeah, those will be good.
A little itty bitty, see if like samplers are giving some away or, you know.
I'm not using bread flour. I'm just using flour. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, this is the salt and sugar. And then, so what I like to do is what I was taught. You make a well in the middle for the yeast so that it doesn't mix with the liquids right away.
That makes sense.
We need 2 3/4 teaspoons.
Yeah.
This is 2 1/2.
Okay.
1, 2. Okay. Let's press until sweet, until light. So we're not gonna do rapid, so we're gonna do. Oh, I don't have a large or small.
True.
Well, let's just.
I think it's good.
We'll see how this turns out. I've never done banana bread in here.
What is it doing?
Mixing it. All right, well that mixes and cooks on its own. It's gonna take about 2 1/2 hours. I'm gonna get the jars. Well, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up from prepping. I know, isn't that nice? Just kind of does it itself. I don't even have to knead it or mix it, or does its thing. And we're gonna get cleaned up, get the jars prepped for the blueberry jam because we have a variety of mixture that need to be cleaned and all set up. All right, so I learned that if I put vinegar in the boiling water, it will keep the hard water stains off my jars and the inside of my pot. So the bread machine just beeped, which means it's time to pour in the walnuts. I've never made banana bread this way, so I'm not sure what it's supposed to look like. It doesn't look like the normal bread that I make, but I also put a lot more bananas in than they called for, and they were frozen, which means they had more moisture probably. So we'll see. And this is rapid boiling. We are waiting for it to gel. Crushed most of the berries, but the difference with jam and jelly is that jam is made with whole berries and chunks of fruit, whereas jelly is just made from the juice of the fruit. So we are making jam. I do have to say though, next time I do this, I'm going to use a food processor to chop up the berries first. Mine were frozen, so I just threw them in and started cooking them, but we got a new food processor that I haven't used, so I forgot that I had it. I'm not used to having it, and I think that would have helped the process a little bit more and made these chunks a little bit smaller. Okay, the jam is ready to go in the jars. Got the jars warmed up and all of my stuff ready. I'm gonna start ladling it in and getting those processed. Gotta get my lids ready to pour some hot water over these. Make sure to soften the rings. They're in. Gotta set them for 15 minutes at a rolling boil. I just hear it starting to rattle. And I think while I wait for that, I'm gonna mix up some blueberry muffins. Okay, making muffins. This calls for 2 eggs, some sugar and salt. Whip it together for 4 minutes until it's light and fluffy. And then add in the rest of the ingredients. Just added the sour cream, vanilla, and oil. I gotta mix the dry ingredients in another bowl. Muffins are in the oven. Time to grab my, what did I make? Blueberry jam out and let them start cooling. We're gonna let those cool for about 5 or 10 minutes. Probably just let them cool there for a while we eat dinner. And then, yeah, I've already heard a couple of the jars popping. That one there was just a filler because it didn't make as much as I thought it would. So I was trying to get the water level higher so I didn't have to have as much water. Got done with the muffins and the jams. Unfortunately, the banana bread didn't turn out all the way. The timer went off and I noticed it was a little squishy on the top, so I threw it back in to bake for a little bit longer. The bottom part is fine, but that isn't quite done. And that's my fault because I added extra bananas to the recipe. Bread machines and bread recipes are very particular with the exact amount of ingredients. So hopefully I can get it finished cooked and not burnt on the bottom. Good morning. I let everything set out last night. Let the jars cool and the bread and the muffins. Looks like there was a couple quality control testers snuck in here. The bread didn't turn out well. I just took a bite of it. Not super thrilled with. Here, I'll show you. So I put it back in for a while and you can see the ring where it didn't quite get done. It's just really dense. I don't know if the loaf was just too large for the bread machine. I probably won't do it in there again. But I took a little bite. It's not terrible. It definitely just tastes more like bread versus like a sweet treat.
Yeah, definitely.
Very dense, thick, heavy bread. You want to try it?
So you got a good slice? Is it good though? Toast.
Really good French toast. I was just gonna say that. So I guess it's okay. It's not super sweet. Part of the reason I want to make my own treats at home is to cut back on the amount of sugar. But all of our jars turned out well, taking the rings off and pick them up by the lid, test them each. So far, all of them have been pretty good. Still need to take a couple more rings off. We'll get them stored away. So it does look like it gelled up pretty good. And remember, this was without pectin because blueberries have a lot of natural pectin. And I did see a trick as to test it when it's still liquid and runny is to take a plate or a frozen spoon and dip it in, and if it doesn't run right off, then it's good. And that worked well. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.